What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, we're going to take it to some gaming journalists yet again. This time, they're picking on Sifu, and this time, they're kind of conquering. They're trying to attack it from different angles. Okay, it's actually quite a smart move, considering all of them are stupid angles. So when you just do more of them, maybe it confuses people. I think that's maybe the angle these game journalists want to go. All right, so there's two angles, in my opinion. All right, there's the fact of it being a French studio that made a game, off of kung fu and off of this, martial arts style. And then you also have about the difficulty, right? Two different angles. Now, the difficulty one's easy. We've heard this one before. Whenever a tough game, honestly, this is truly like clockwork. Now, I know there are people that continue to, disagree, and it's fine. It's fine to disagree about, having an easy mode, et cetera, et cetera. But you can see this stuff like clockwork, that anytime a game that comes out that is based off of skill, like you need to get good at it, you need to play it multiple times in order to kind of learn the ropes, whatever, and that's built into the DNA of the game, which again, Sifu is. Sifu is a difficult game to be difficult, and again, they're not laughing at you. They don't want you to fail for 30 hours continuously. Now, I know that's what these gaming journalists, end up doing, but the point is that they hope that you're going to get better, and they give you the tools and skills and that you can unlock different abilities, so literally skills, that you can kind of break yourself out of that funk, all right? The game is designed in this way. The game is not, in my opinion, too difficult. It is purposely like this because you're supposed to learn how to do it. You're supposed to get better over time. And again, having a mode where they hold your hand, in Sifu specifically, you can have this talk about Returnal. You can have this talk about literally any game on the face of the planet that becomes difficult. In 2 weeks, we're going to have the same talk, I assume, with Elden Ring, that obviously these game journalists want their hand held throughout the entire thing, when that's just not the way the game is designed, all right? So you had that. That was a big thing. I know I saw some people that reviewed this game, okay? Game journalists that got the code. Now, I got a code early too, but my code was the same as like the deluxe edition, where I couldn't play it until Sunday along with everybody else. And when the PlayStation stuff was down and all, like, that affected my code too. So I didn't get any special treatment in the way that some of these people got to play the game a week in advance, and they couldn't make it. I saw some people say they couldn't make it past the second level, which I did in one day. They couldn't make it past the second level, and they did a review of the game. Truly pathetic. Truly. So this is another example of game journalists that, it's normal. They don't beat games anyway. They don't actually play them all the way through. But this is a good example of that happening directly in front of our eyes. All right, the next one, and I'm going to use Sophia Narwitz to help me out here, because there's just a lot of people talking about, they're going into skin color. They're making it about, certain, and I got to be careful because of YouTube stuff. But what ends up happening with these people is, the word that ends in ism, okay? And then that's when you aren't treating people of different, races a certain way. That's what these people end up truly showing others that they are. Remember the person that wrote that they were so flabbergasted that this game was being made from that they didn't have the Asian, representation in their studio. Do you remember that person? They literally made a tweet where they said, "Do I hate white people? Yes." And the rest of the tweet continues to go on to say, well, it's not personal that I hate white people. It's just that I do. And, if you're outside of the system like I am and you really can see things, then you'll understand why I hate white people. And, I would just like to say, if you make that anything else, if you say, well, do I hate black people? Of course, you dummy. Like, that's when you replace it with another race or gender or, literally anything. And if it sounds off at any point, but, well, number one, most likely you are that certain word, sir. And secondly, you maybe should just shut up. That's the second thing. So that was the person who wrote that article, by the way. So the person that wants representation really just doesn't want white people. That's really, at the end of the day, that's what, and that's honestly what a lot of these people end up being. So she actually says here, actual racists don't even focus on skin color as much as the wokies do. And that's what, these people that are so woke, that so much are pushing for identity and all this stuff, not everybody, but these people for some reason that just take over the gaming industry, these people are more of the R word than other, than people that actually are the R word, and I totally agree with that. This comes from Fanbyte. Sifu is a sharp but uncomfortable action movie, and again, it's fully just on, it's hard to think about its development team being white. It frustrates me from a gameplay perspective. Sifu is phenomenal, but for the life of me, I don't understand why this group of people chose to tell this story. There are myriad other avenues available. So again, they're just mad that these people aren't represented in this game. Now, it goes to, I don't know, I think Forspoken had the same. Kotaku took like a hit piece out on Forspoken, the PlayStation exclusive, the one made from Square Enix. And what ends up happening is this, right? It's only one way. So you could say, well, is there anything massively wrong with, well, these guys are demanding, they're almost threatening, they're obviously calling names if you don't do this, but is there anything wrong with politely bringing up that, hey, there was no representation and maybe there should have been? No, there's nothing, massively wrong about that, and maybe that's something that should happen. Maybe that's true. Okay, number one, though, I don't actually think it needs to, because they make the game, and if you don't like it, that's totally cool, but it's not up to us. We're not the game developers, they are, so let's just stay out of it, okay? And that's, that's one aspect of it. Number two, this never happens the other way around. Who has gone to Hideo Kojima and told him to lay off making Western games? Who's done that? Has anybody gone to him and said, the way you portray in Metal Gear, I really don't think you're qualified. Personally, I don't really know what makes you think you're able to make games like that. Has anybody done that? No? Okay. Rocksteady. Do you know Rocksteady is not an American? They're not based in America. They make Batman Arkham, so that's a more American kind of thing. Does anybody go to Rocksteady and say, hey, I don't really think you should have made those Arkham games. Do you even know what you're talking about? I don't think those things happen. Tetsuya Nomura. Okay, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy. Has anybody gone to him and say, these Disney characters, and you've done stuff on pirates. You had pirates in several of your Kingdom Hearts games, and also just Kingdom Hearts in general. I really don't know if you like are you using representation the right way in your studio? Did you talk to like English folks? Like, did you come? Did any of that stuff happen with these? No, none of it happened. Oh, that's right. So what ends up happening is, as always with these idiots in game journalism, it only goes one way. It's the same thing with the guy who admits that he hates white people, right? He doesn't want representation. He just doesn't want. Well, he's just showing his true colors. He's showing who he truly is. That's who he is. It's not that he wants representation. So all of these people, and I truly. By the way, let's not forget, these are all the same person, just like with different names, and they look slightly different, but sometimes they don't. Like, that's what these people are. So when these people say, well, we just want representation, we want Asian representation in our Kung Fu game, do you, though? Because I think it may have started with that, and maybe like one of you thinks that, but I really think most of you, or all of you, okay, that are saying this online, you really just have a big problem with white people. You just don't like that these certain people, it's really about the race that these people already are, you hate them, and you just don't want them to make your game. Which, by the way, don't get the game then. Also, another point that was, kind of brought out by Sophia was that these are the people that tell us that we need to, and I've said this before, by the way, too. This is a good point. This is something you got to remember. These are the people that scream to be accepting, to be inclusive, to be like all this stuff, right? So they're constantly screaming at, and again, and I'm not exaggerating, they are screaming at you to do it, and they're demanding that you do it. They're not asking politely. These are the people that are saying, hey, let's take it easy on these people. These people have lives. These people have jobs. I'm sure they stood up for the Activision Blizzard walkout, all that stuff, and yet they're going to go after Slow Clap, this small little indie developer, right? They've made a couple games here and there. They're going to go after them for this issue, right? So they're telling us we need to be better in our lives, because obviously our lives are messed up. Their lives are completely normal and fully sane, right? That's totally true. And we need to be nicer to these game developers and everybody. Like, we need to just be nicer people. Oh, but meanwhile, we're just going to go after them because they don't have the kind of representation that we want. And again, it's going to be forced representation, because is there anything wrong with politely, like, asking? Maybe not. Maybe you should have one or two, whatever, okay? But again, you give them an inch and they take a mile. So really, you know, if you had one, then they'll say, well, why couldn't the entire team be made up of this person? So like, that's what these people do. The writing is on the wall, right? It's the same thing, I think, for Forspoken, right? They wanted somebody from the area of the world that the main character of the game is. Well, the next thing is that they wanted the entire team to be, I mean, it doesn't just stop with one. That's where these people start with. And again, they force it and they make it a bigger deal than it has to be. Oh, and they're also one-sided, and they also only go after it with certain things, but then they leave other things alone. Like any game, again, not just the examples I gave with like Hideo Kojima, any game that's over here, okay, non-Western, and that was, you know, say made in Japan or made in China, oh my God, right? Made in these places, do they go after these Chinese developers, right? And say, hey, are you doing this? No, they absolutely not, because it doesn't matter to them if we're represented the right way, right? Is America represented right? Who literally cares? Who gives an F, right? That doesn't matter to these people. So that should show you that it's disingenuous. These people don't actually care about what they're saying, because it only goes one way. And that's what, you know, I try to preach this with, I go on Twitter all the time with this kind of stuff, right? This goes into politics. This goes into gaming. This goes into movies too, right? A big, big thing. Do they really want inclusion and diversity and all this stuff? Or do they only want it one way? Most of the time, all of the time, really, it's just one way. So are they really going about it the right way? No, they're just virtue signaling, right? They're just trying to earn brownie points online. That's all they're doing. And the fact that people liked this person's tweet about the hating white people, by the way, is actually a very, very sad thing, and I'm disgusted. But it's Twitter, and that's something you should, obviously probably just expect at this point. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up, and I hope to see you all on tomorrow's video.